Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on Masters of the Universe Mondo Sky Sled. So this is my first video on my channel looking at Masters of the Universe, and today I've been sort of pushed myself to do this. I've felt the need to do it because this Sky Sled, for those of you who collect Mondo, is of course up for pre-order now, and there's been a lot of negativity online surrounding this, and a lot of it's, well, all of it really is around the price. I think no one can dispute the fact that it's a beautifully designed piece, but yeah, there's a lot of negativity around the price, and I don't know, I just felt the need to do a sort of a more positive video because I've, in all honesty, been on the fence with this purchasing this, and to be honest, I am leaning more towards going for it, and I kind of thought I'd just do a video to sort of outline why, just to sort of balance things out a bit, because I think first of all, Mondo are a fantastic company. They produce the most wonderful products, you know, very niche of course, but wonderful products that are aimed at us, you know, our generation who grew up with Masters of the Universe, and of course the other properties they do, including Thundercats, which is upcoming now, of course. But Masters of the Universe, for me and a lot of people, adults today who grew up in the 80s, is a wonderful sort of timeless property that means a lot to so many of us. And yeah, I just am overwhelmed by the fact that we're living in this sort of this era now where things of the 80s are back in the best possible way. Not only do we have things aimed at new generations of children, but of course we have things like these marvellous collectibles that are aimed at those who grew up with these things as children. So everything now being seen from an adult perspective, I'm just loving it. So yeah, and Mondo is one of those companies that are doing, of course, very high-end collectibles, and they are expensive. You know, there's no two ways about it. Mondo would be the first to admit that these are expensive high-end collectibles. So not everybody can afford them, and not everybody can find the space to display them, because these collectibles are big. They're 1/6 scale, and they take up a lot of room. As you can see beside me, I do have a cabinet of Mondo figures, and just to give you a bit of context first, I thought I'd just give a brief history of how I got into them. My first Mondo figure for Masters of the Universe was Merman. I was aware of the He-Man and Skeletor they put out originally, but I was never too sold on those. I think they were just, for me, and I know a lot of other people feel this way, they were a bit too far removed from the classic designs that we all know. The head sculpts I didn't mind too much. I thought they were okay, but I think the He-Man and Skeletor we've got since is way better in my opinion. But that Merman, when that was revealed, I don't know, it was about 4 years ago, 2020 I think. I watched Pixel Dan's review of it on YouTube, and I was blown away by it. I thought, wow, this is the most ultimate representation of a Merman figure. And funny enough, Merman was never actually one of my top characters, to be honest. But I love him now, and it's largely thanks to Merman. You can see him down there, got him in the corner down there. So I got Merman and I thought, wow, I'll try and, you know, because, you know, he was pretty expensive. You know, obviously the figures, as we know, have gone up since, but Merman, I think, was reasonably priced for what it is. And you can see why these things cost so much. They're so detailed. They're so, you know, the articulation is fantastic. They're wonderful display pieces. They come with lots of accessories, beautiful box art, and so on. We all know why they cost a lot of money. But yeah, anyway, I went from Merman to Man at Arms. Now, Man at Arms blew me away even more. I mean, Man at Arms has always been a character that I have loved for as long as I remember. I think he was probably the first figure I got as a child, the first vintage figure. And that Man at Arms, that Mondo Man at Arms, is just, it's incredible. I look at him now, I've got him here, I look at him and I think the detail in that, you know, all the weathering and all the detail to his armour and everything you get is just super. And then it went from there. You know, I always thought, well, I'll keep it to a couple just to sort of represent more secondary characters, because obviously I didn't have He-Man at that point. And then, of course, they announced the deluxe He-Man, and I remember seeing images, concept art of it. I think it was PowerCon, it was revealed. And when I finally got that deluxe He-Man in hand, I thought, wow, these are just incredible. That is the best He-Man. And then Skeletor was revealed and so on. So lo and behold, I ended up getting trying to get the core characters. They put a lot of them out now. So I've got He-Man, I've got Skeletor, I've got the two cats, Battle Cat and Panther, which blew me away as well. And I've got Beastman, which is an incredible figure. And I even went for Prince Adam because I thought, well, he's so iconic. He's so sort of integral to the whole, the whole sort of the brand. So I thought I'd get him as well. But yeah, it's a lot of money, and you've got to sort of be selective with these things. Now I know there are some fans who are completists, and I know there'll be a few people online who have actually said, "Oh, I've got every single figure they put out." And they're now saying that with this Sky Sled, this is the first one where they're either on the fence or they know they're absolutely not going for it, and it's down to the price. And that's sad to hear. I don't see myself as a completist. So I haven't gone for Faker, haven't gone for Scareglow, haven't gone for She-Ra or Hordak. Not likely to go for the new Scareglow that's coming or his steed. I think it's called Nightmare, isn't it? I'm trying to keep it condensed as much as I can to the core characters. So I do have Teela and Orko on pre-order on their way, and I'm kind of waiting for Evil Lyn to come along. And that was going to be it, really. That's what I sort of decided on at this moment in time. We'll see. I know they might do a Sorceress one day, which would be incredible. And my wife is she's got her eye on Swiftwind, even though we don't have a shift from Sheila. I've got a very tolerant wife, by the way. She loves all this stuff as well. But again, they are expensive, and you do have to in my case, I'm trying to be selective. I'm not collecting much else, really. Mega Constructs, I love Mega Constructs. I love Masterverse, but I'm not getting all of them. And my two girls and my children love Origins, so we've got a lot of Masters Universe going on, but trying to really rein it in now. To be honest, I loved the idea of having a few sort of detailed representations of figures, and before I was really invested in Mondo, I actually went for a few statues. So I still own a He-Man, a Battle Cat, both from a company called Pop Culture Shock. The He-Man is Filmation style, and the Battle Cat's more of a sort of detailed version. My wife got She-Ra, and we also got the Tweeter Head Teela, which is a very different style, much more detailed. But now I'm seriously considering selling these statues, because I've now got these Mondo figures, and I think, well, Mondo sort of gives you everything. They're a little bit they look like a statue because they're so detailed, but they're a figure as well. You can pose them, and I love that about them. So I basically what I'm saying is Mondo, I absolutely love their work, as a lot of us do. So let's just talk about this Sky Sled. So like I say, I'm genuinely, I am on the fence, but I'm leaning much more towards getting it. I just want to talk about, first of all, I'm looking at images of it here. It is, in my opinion, the best Sky Sled we're ever going to get. There's never going to be a better Sky Sled than this. This is incredible. The detail, the paintwork, the sculpt, all of it. And if you look through the images they have online, especially those sort of close-up images, when you sort of see the textures of the paint, it's got this wonderful sort of metallic sheen to it, which is kind of reminiscent of the sort of saddles that Battle Cat and Panther have. But I think this looks even more metallic. It looks very solid. It looks very sort of polished. And then, of course, you've got all the weathering on it. You've got the chips as if it's been in battle, and which I just love that. Mondo did such a great job with Man at Arms on that, and they've gone from there. And then you look at the sort of like the interior of it. You can take the hood off, and then of course you see all the sort of workings, the engine and whatever there is to make this thing go. You can sort of see that in there. So there's a lot of wonderful detail in there. And then if you look at the seat has got a lovely sort of leathery feel to it. Got a sort of very soft. You can almost imagine what that would feel like if it was real, a real full-scale version. The wires, all the bits and pieces going on. So there's a lot of detail in this, a lot of sort of components to it. Now, I've seen a lot of people online refer to this as a hunk of plastic, which of course it is. Of course it is. All these things are just plastic at the end of the day. But it's a very detailed hunk of plastic, and I would never describe this as one piece of hollow plastic. I assume it is hollow. I know that these figures, they certainly are hollow, judging by the weight of them. And they've all got some weight to them. That Beastman, very heavy, and of course the cats, extremely heavy. But you assume they must be hollow. They're not solid. This shouldn't be any different. And if you look on the website, and the weight of this is actually listed as £6, which, if you compare to some of the other figures, the cats weigh £10 each, and a lot of the figures weighed 5, 6. I think Beastman was £5. I think that's right. So this weighs more than Beastman, which is interesting, and I think that weight includes all the heads and accessories, the bolts. I think it's everything. So this certainly will have some weight to it. Now, I always find with these products, it's hard to sort of imagine that until you've got it in hand, and that's the trouble with, committing to something when you're just looking at photos of it online. And no matter how good the photos are, which of course they always are with these products, Raul Barrera, I think his name is, does a fantastic job with these photos. You don't really know until you've got them in hand. I mean, take Battle Cat. When Battle Cat was first revealed, I thought, I can't go for that, especially because I got this statue. And then I thought, well, I could sell the statue. That would help fund it. I was on the fence with that. I was umming and ahhing, and that, of course, was, as we know, $500. So it's a lot of money, and then Panther as well on top of that. But when you get it in hand, when I open that box and remove that Battle Cat, oh my God, it is an absolute work of art, as they all are. These things are just, that's when you know that you got your money's worth, in my opinion. And that's why these things go up in value. They sell for a lot more, generally speaking, on the secondary market. And I think this Sky Sled will be no different. It will go up in value, especially if it's very niche and not as many people go for it. Yeah, the weight of it then, £6. It's got some weight to it. I've got the classic vintage one here. Now, when it comes to vehicles, I think of vehicles as they are as much of the world of Masters of the Universe as the characters are. They are as iconic in my opinion. And the Sky Sled is one of those vehicles I had as a child. This is my very own vintage Sky Sled. Got my vintage Man at Arms on it. And just to tell you a little funny story, I had the whole battle ram and I got it second hand, so I never had the box. So I never, and I know this will sound stupid, I never actually realised that the Sky Sled detached from it. I thought it was just one vehicle. I never even thought that, I don't know, I never saw it as a Sky Sled. I thought, I might have thought, it looks similar to it. You saw them flying around in the Filmation cartoon, but yeah, never realised it until one day I don't know what I did, I was playing with it and I realised it was coming apart. I thought, well, that's odd. I pulled a bit more and then I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh my gosh, I've got a Sky Sled. I was so overwhelmed by the fact that I had a Sky Sled. And I loved it. I was playing with it all day. I thought, wow, the characters can now fly on this vehicle. So yeah, I'll never forget that day. So there's the big nostalgia factor, as is the case for a lot of us. It's why we get these things. We're hugely nostalgic for this property, and we're sort of reliving our childhood, or what we loved in our childhood as adults. Seeing things in a new light, appreciating them in a sort of different way. And I love that. We all love that. So when I look at this Sky Sled, I'm just taken back to that day when I sort of discovered that about it. And this is obviously hollow piece of plastic, very simple in design, beautiful design, but of course, as they all were, very simple, with just stickers for the dragon here and the controls. There's a sticker for the controls. If I just remove Man at Arms here, we've got the stickers there. And it's very, it is what it is. And then I look at this Mondo one and I think, wow, that is this vintage version times 100. It is absolutely stunning. And if I look at, I'm just going to find the image of the controls, the control panel, and compare it to this sticker. It's amazing. Mondo look very carefully at the vintage toys. They obviously look at all toy lines, so the Origins, Classics. I think they look at everything in detail and try and get the most sort of ultimate version that feels classic, that feels authentic, and then a little sprinkling of their own sort of, their own take on it. and that's what I love about it. And I think with each figure, it feels more and more, I don't know, they just get better and better. Okay, articulation. Now, this is obviously not an articulated figure, but I know that the handlebar section does articulate, because if you look at some of the images, you see that it's turned. He-Man's resting on it and it's been turned. So that at least seems to articulate. Maybe the gun does at the front, I don't know, like the Origins one does. But articulation-wise, yes, that is pretty much it. And then if you look at the accessories, so we do have these sort of blaster sort of effects that you can sort of plug into the guns, and then the sort of fiery sort of blast effect that you can put at the back as well. And that's great, it gives it a bit of life. You get a stand as well, which is nice. I guess, if I'm honest, I was hoping for a stand where you could angle the Sky Sled a little bit, you know, maybe with sort of an adjustment on it. So that would have been nice, but yeah, it is what it is. But the most interesting accessory for me are the heads, the He-Man and Prince Adam head. Now, I've seen a lot of people sort of say online that, you know, oh, what's the good of this without a Prince Adam or a He-Man? And of course, Mondo are targeting those that purchase both of those, which of course I'm one of those. I was lucky enough to be able to afford to get both of them. And they're saying, you know, these are exclusive heads only available with this set, so it makes it that a little bit extra special. What I think, I don't know if anyone's thought of this, but if you think about it, you know, if you want to pose your He-Man or Prince Adam in a sort of battle pose, this head might work really well. You know, I think it's worth thinking about these heads as not just for the Sky Sled itself, but if you've got He-Man, you know, fighting Skeletor or whatever, and he's swinging his sword, that head with the wavy hair might work really well for that sort of pose. So, same with Prince Adam. You know, he might be swinging a sword or doing you know, some sort of action pose, and then again that head would work well. So I think it's worth considering that with these heads. It's not just for posing on the Sky Sled. And also because, you know, I think a lot of people said this as well, I don't necessarily associate He-Man and Prince Adam with the Sky Sled. I associate Man-at-Arms. I remember I used to play with the Sky Sled with Man-at-Arms for hours on end. And also Teela, you know, I think when I think back to the Filmation cartoon, I remember Teela travelling on these quite a lot. Sure enough, Prince Adam did as well, and I believe He-Man did too. But, you know, any of those characters would work really well. But my immediate thought, when I thought, oh, if I get this, I would love to put my Man-at-Arms on this Sky Sled. I'm a little bit disappointed that Mondo didn't put out at least one image of Man-at-Arms sat on it. All of them are either Prince Adam or He-Man, but that's fine, you know. But yeah, that's my thinking. If I get this, Man-at-Arms will be riding that Sky Sled, and I think that will look absolutely fantastic. When you look at that image of a person holding the Sky Sled, you obviously see how big it is, and it is big. It's beautifully big, you know. Not as big as the cats, of course, but it's pretty darn big. I think it would have been good if there was a video somewhere of this being revealed at a con, and I don't believe there is. I saw it with Teela and Orko recently. I think it was it San Diego Comic Con or one of the cons where they, you know, people were seeing them in person. And thanks to that, there were various people online, reviewers, YouTube reviewers, who were able to sort of give their take on it, having seen a prototype of those figures in person. Now, it's unfortunate that I don't think that's occurred with the Sky Sled, so we've got nobody out there who's actually able to form an opinion on this, having seen it in person. And I think that always makes a difference, because at the end of the day, we are just looking at images, and I'm trying to imagine, you know, what this thing would feel like in my hands, you know, how it would look in the cabinet there. You know, they give you the measurements, and it's, you know, 12.5 wide by 8.5 inches high. So you can imagine it, but it's hard to really, you know, imagine that weight, a figure on it, and, you know. So I know that Mondo are doing their usual sort of video where they sort of discuss the design and creation of this, and I believe it's Tuesday night. I've never been able to tune into one live because I'm based in the UK and the hour difference is 6 hours. So 7 p.m. their time means 1 a.m. for me. But I think in this case, I'm going to make an exception. I'm going to look forward to watching this, and I'm hoping that Hector Arce might be holding one of these and just talking about it. And I think when you see someone holding about it, turning it around, talking about the detail, I think then you'll get more of a feel for this item. Okay, so let's discuss the price then. So $395. This is, I admit, when I saw the price, yes, I was a bit taken back. I thought it was a little bit high as well, and I know a lot of people feel this way, and I get it. You know, it feels like a lot of money to pay for what is essentially a small vehicle, one of the smallest, if not the smallest vehicle in Masters of the Universe. 99% of the comments online seem to be a complaint about the price. And first of all, I think it is sad, because I think of the artists who work on these things. They do such incredible work, and they're clearly very proud of their work, and they're clearly fans of this property. There's no denying. I've said that in various videos, and you can just see and feel the love that's been poured into each and every one of these figures. This, of course, is different. This is their first vehicle, and they obviously arrived at this price somehow. Now, I firmly believe that Mondo aren't out to rip people off. That is not the case here. I really believe that. They arrived at this price for a reason, maybe multiple reasons. I can, like all of us, can only speculate. I know nothing about the manufacturing of these items. I don't know how it works. But I just want to throw out some sort of guesses out there. First of all, this of course needs new tooling to begin with. So this has to all be created from scratch. Unlike the figures where you have the buck, you have the basic body and you can build up from there. Arguably, of course, Beastman was different. That had to be redesigned from scratch, and there's no other figure like him at the moment. So, and I thought Beastman was perfectly priced. I thought, and I think a lot of people agree that I think it was $270. I thought that was right. That was absolutely right for Beastman. Now, I know when Orko was announced, there were a lot of complaints on the price of him. But I think I don't know this, but I think the way it works is that contractually Mondo have to produce figures at the same price point when it comes to an action figure, and that's why they put those accessories in to sort of make it feel more worth that price point. So of course with Orko you get the small Orko, you get the drill figure and all those other bits and pieces, and I ordered, I knew I wanted Orko, I knew I had to get it, and I'm very pleased I got it pre-ordered. He'll be on his way I think next month. When it comes to this, it felt like we were back in that territory that people were thinking this is way too much for this vehicle. Because this is a vehicle, we don't know really what has to go into making this. It might be that the machinery, the whatever it is used to make it, is more specialised. Maybe it takes more time, because at the end of the day, these things don't just cost materials to make; they cost time. Expected to ship in November, so that's quite some time. Unlike Tila, that's expected to ship in July, and that sold quite recently. November is a long way off, so I don't know what are the reasons for that. It feels like to me that it's going to take time to make these things. A lot of people have talked about articulation and the fact that Battle Cat was only $100 or $105 dearer, and you got all the articulation, you got all the heads and so on. But I think these items aren't just about articulation. It's about all the pieces of plastic that go into it. So if you I'm looking at this Sky Sled and I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of components that are brought together. Yes, that's the case with all the figures, and if you look at Battle Cat and Panathor, yes, there's all the components in terms of the articulation brought together. It doesn't mean there's not a lot of work that has to go into making them. One thing that's worth looking at, and I know Mondo, I think, commented somewhere on Facebook about this, that the paintwork and the detail contributed largely to this price point. And as you scroll through the images, the paintwork on this is quite complex. I think look at the sort of dragon on the side and all those details there. I think there's a lot going on with this, and then if you go back to the sculpting, it's a lot of complex sculpting going on, particularly with the way they've done the inside of the engine and all of that in there. And the more I look at them, the more I think, wow, there's so many sort of grooves in there, and sort of positive and negative space and shapes and things. So basically it's a complex item, and I think when you compare it to a figure, it's completely different. It's very, I don't know. I just think you can't compare them in many ways because it's such a different kind of item. 395, yes, it feels a bit high. If it was 350, 300, and then when you get to sort of 250, and then some people even said, oh, this should be no more than 200. I just don't see that. I personally don't see that. When I look at a figure like next to it, like there's actually an image of He-Man standing next to it. Yes, He-Man's taller, but when you look at, like, even if you go by the amount of plastic alone, there's more plastic in that Sky Sled. There's more volume. It's bulkier. Yes, it might be shorter, but it's wider, it's bulkier, it's more complex shapes going on, and there's definitely more paint on it. So, I know, again, like with accessories, you could break bits of this off and call them accessories, and you'd still have a bulky Sky Sled there. So I guess what I'm saying is I just think Mondo have their reasons, I'm looking at this image now of He-Man leaning on it, and it just, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. The more I look at these images, the more I just think, yeah, the price makes sense. But I do get it. I totally get why people are grumbling about this price. If it's too high for you, then it's not for you. I'm not rich. I'm not super rich or anything. I'm comfortable enough, but yes, I can afford something like this occasionally. But I'm not. I have to pick and choose, and I have to be careful. But I look at this, and I just worry about if I don't go for it. I just know I'm going to regret it. I just keep imagining it, or trying to imagine it in this cabinet with man-at-arms sat on it, and I just think it's just so iconic. And to have the sort of more science side of Masters of the Universe represented in this way, I just think if I'm going to go for a vehicle, this is the one. If they do more vehicles, they're going to be very big and expensive, and yeah, maybe that's too far for me. But yes, I'd like it to be a bit cheaper, but am I really going to sort of hold off just because I wish it was $100 or so cheaper? I think that would be a shame too, and that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. That's totally cool. I get that. I'm totally fine with that. I just wanted to sort of, I don't know, put my honest, genuine feelings out there, because I am feeling positive about this overall. Again, I do get why people are complaining about the price, but I think overall, when you really look at the detail of this thing and the work gone into it, I understand the price. I really do. And I'm hoping that Mondo will sort of, maybe when they do this video on Tuesday night, they might sort of give an indication as to why it's costing this much. So there we go. That's my take on the Mondo Sky Sled. I don't know if I've helped anyone out who's on the fence, or annoyed anyone who really is against this. Again, I get it. I get why people are against this. But like I say, I think things are priced a certain way for a reason, and some things cost a lot of money, some things not so much. It's just the way things are, and there we have it. I don't know if Mondo can sort of, I doubt they can put out a statement or anything to justify it, but what I'd like to see is just, maybe some indications as to the work that goes into something like this, and then that would help sort of justify it for a lot of people, maybe. Long may Mondo continue. Okay, everyone, thanks a lot for watching, and all the best.